My friends, the exhaustion is real, but the passion for this team speaks louder. I just couldn't go without talking to you, the ones living every moment of this journey with pride and heart. Before anything else, I want to say thank you, truly, to every single one of you who's here, commenting, sharing, believing, and standing with this team. Through mistakes and victories, highs and lows, we're still here, proving everyone wrong. So do me a favor, smash that like button, show that the Blue Nation is more alive than ever, and let's dive into everything that's heating up in Detroit. Because here, faith doesn't fade, and the roar never stops. The Detroit Lions head into the bye week not just as one of the top teams in the NFL, but as a franchise that finally feels like it has built something sustainable, something real. And as the dust settles halfway through the season, it's the perfect time to take a look around and see just how far Detroit has come, especially when we compare the current roster and culture with those who've left. Because what's happening now is something we haven't seen in decades. The Lions are developing players, and once they leave, they simply don't perform the same. Take Carlton Davis, for example. A solid player during his time in Detroit. He's now with the Patriots, a 5-2 team on paper, but his numbers tell a different story. His PFF grade dropped from an impressive 75 while with the Lions down to just 51 in New England. That's a massive dip, and it's not an accident. It speaks to the environment in Detroit, the coaching, the leadership, the accountability that gets the best out of its players. You don't just plug a former Lion into another system and expect the same results anymore. This team develops well, and the results prove it. Kevin Zeitler is another case. He left for the Titans, signing a one-year, $9 million deal, a well-deserved payday for a 35-year-old veteran. But since leaving Detroit, his production has clearly dipped. It's not that he suddenly forgot how to play, but when you're part of a system built on chemistry and collective toughness like Dan Campbell's, it's hard to replicate that somewhere else. And then there's Afita Melifonwu, a player fans love for his flashes of brilliance but who could never quite stay healthy long enough to make it all click. He's in Miami now, a strong organization, no doubt, but he's barely cracking the rotation, playing in sub-packages here and there, nothing standout. The same story goes for James Mitchell. Remember how much potential there was? The athletic tight end who just needed a little consistency and good health. Now with the Panthers on a one-year, $1 million deal, he's their fourth tight end, and even on a team that uses more tight ends than most, he's not making much of an impact. It's a pattern. Guys leave, and they just don't shine the same way. That's not a coincidence, that's culture. Even Tim Patrick, a guy the Lions traded away for a 6th-round pick, hasn't done much with the Jaguars. And that 6th-rounder? It might not sound like much to old-school fans who remember when only the top 3 rounds really mattered, but times have changed. College programs are deeper than ever, player development is more advanced, and there's real value in those later rounds now. Holmes and Campbell know it, and they're proving that those picks can turn into real contributors. Patrick's absence hasn't been felt, and that's a sign of strong roster depth. And then there's Brick Martin, another example of how sometimes things just don't work out, not just here but anywhere. He didn't fit with Detroit, and now with the Chiefs, it's the same story. Practice squad, one elevation, inactive the same day. It's the same with Hendon Hooker. The former Lion is sitting behind Bryce Young and Andy Dalton in Carolina, and while some fans might have worried about him leaving and suddenly lighting it up somewhere else, that hasn't happened at all. He's a good player, but again, Detroit knows what it's doing. If you can't find a role here, odds are you won't find one elsewhere either. Think about how different that is from the old days. We used to watch guys leave the Lions and suddenly turn into stars elsewhere, and it hurt. There was always that frustration. Why couldn't he play like that for us? But those days are gone. Now, it feels like if you can't thrive here, you're not thriving anywhere. That's the mark of a real football culture. And while we're at it, it's worth taking a second to appreciate just how far the Lions have come. According to PFF, they're sitting at number 2 in the power rankings heading into the bye. Sure, power rankings don't mean everything, but they give a good sense of how teams stack up across the league. And for Detroit to be in that conversation, consistently, not just for a week or two, that's new territory. Look around the league. The Commanders, for instance, a team that had one good year and started talking about next year with all that hype around Jaden Daniels. Fast forward, and they've dropped 3 of their last 4. Meanwhile, Detroit hasn't lost back-to-back games in years and has been winning in dominant fashion. Not just squeaking out victories, dominating. By the 3rd quarter, you can already feel it. They've broken their opponent's will. That's how complete this team has become. But even with all the success, there are still a couple of things to keep an eye on. Taylor Decker, for one, has been playing through pain, and while he's not been shy about admitting that he's hurt, nobody really knows how bad it is. Is it a shoulder hanging by a thread? A lingering issue that just won't heal? Either way, he's grinding through it like the leader he is. On the other hand, Graham Glasgow's situation is a bit different. He's healthy, but his consistency hasn't quite been what it was earlier in the season, and with him being one of the veterans on the line, the team really needs him steady, especially since there isn't an obvious backup ready to take over at center. Still, it's not all concern. Guys like Zach Zinter, Christian Mahogany, and of course Penei Sewell just keep getting better. Sewell has become everything you could ask for in a cornerstone lineman, reliable, tough, and elite every single week. So, as Detroit heads into the second half of the season, there's this powerful sense that things are different now, not just in the win-loss column, but in the DNA of the team. The players who stay, develop. The ones who leave, fade. That's the mark of a strong organization, one that's not just winning games but building something real for the long term. But as fans, it's hard not to look ahead and wonder, with all the progress, with the culture so strong and the roster clicking, what's the next step? Should Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell stay the course with the guys they've built up, or is it time to get aggressive again and make a move to push this team over the top? What do you think, Lions fans? Trust the process, or take the next big swing? Because that's really the heart of the debate right now, isn't it? The Detroit Lions are sitting in this rare position, a place the franchise hasn't been in for decades, where stability and success finally coexist. You've got Dan Campbell's culture fully embedded, Brad Holmes drafting and developing players at an elite level, and a locker room that genuinely believes in what's being built. So the question becomes, when you're this close to the top, do you stay patient and trust what's working, or do you make a bold move to chase the ultimate goal right now? That's what has the fan base split. Some people look at the team and say, don't mess with the chemistry. They see the leadership of Jared Goff, the emerging superstar in Amon-Ra St. Brown, the steady dominance of Penei Sewell and Frank Ragnow, and the young defensive core that's growing together week by week. Why risk shaking that up? The Lions aren't just winning, they're building an identity. Every piece feels like it fits. Every player seems to know their role and embrace it. There's something powerful about that, something you don't want to disturb unless the opportunity is absolutely perfect. But the other side of the argument is just as strong. If not now, when? The window doesn't stay open forever in the NFL. Contracts come up, injuries happen, other teams reload. And for the first time in a long time, Detroit is sitting near the top of the NFC, a real contender, not a feel-good story. When you've got a defense ranked near the top of the league, an offense that can control the clock, and a fan base that believes again, there's a legitimate case to go all in. Holmes has already shown he's not afraid to pull the trigger when he sees the right fit. Remember how people questioned trading up for Jahmyr Gibbs? Or when he drafted players others thought were reaches because they fit his exact vision? Every move since has proven the front office knows what it's doing. That's why whatever decision they make next, whether it's standing pat or taking a big swing, it'll be calculated, not desperate. And that's the thing about this version of the Lions. There's no panic. Even with some injuries up front, Decker's shoulder, Glasgow's inconsistencies, the depth across the roster is something the old Lions never had. Look at how players like Graham Barton and Christian Mahogany have stepped up in rotation snaps. Look at the way this coaching staff continues to develop talent from the bottom up. It's not about patching holes anymore. It's about sustaining success. You can also feel how much the players buy into it. Every interview, every post-game comment, there's no ego, no finger-pointing. Just guys talking about execution, teamwork, accountability. That's the culture Campbell promised when he arrived, and now it's paying off. Even veterans who came from elsewhere talk about how different it feels in Detroit, that sense of purpose, of connection. And yet, with all that said, you can't ignore that final, unspoken truth. Championship windows are fragile. This is the moment where great organizations separate themselves from good ones. The Kansas City Chiefs didn't wait around once they saw Mahomes was special. They surrounded him with everything he needed. The Rams went all in for Stafford and won it all. The Eagles pushed the chips in when the timing was right. So the question for Detroit is, are they there yet? Is this the year to go all in? To add one more game-changing piece that turns a contender into a champion? Because that's what it could come down to. Maybe it's a defensive back to tighten things up in coverage. Maybe it's a veteran receiver to give Goff another weapon when defenses key on St. Brown and Gibbs. Or maybe it's just sticking with what's working, keeping the chemistry intact, and trusting that the same formula that got them here will carry them all the way. Either way, you can feel the anticipation building. This isn't the old Detroit Lions, where fans were just hoping for respect. This is a team that's earning it, week after week, drive after drive. The rest of the league knows it, too. When the Lions show up on the schedule now, they're not the get-right game anymore, they're the problem. So as we hit the bye and look toward the stretch run, that's the real question hanging in the air. Should Brad Holmes take a swing and bring in another difference maker? Or has this team already proven that everything they need is already inside that locker room? Let me know what you think. Lions fans, is it time to make a move, or do you trust this group to finish the job just the way they are? And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe for more Lions coverage every week, and check out the next video on the screen, because we're just getting started. Because the truth is, this season feels like something special, something Lions fans have waited their whole lives to experience. You can sense it in every press conference, every celebration, every fourth quarter finish where the team refuses to back down. There's no fluke here, no lucky bounces or Cinderella magic. This is real football, physical, disciplined, and built from the ground up. Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes didn't just build a team, they built a standard, and it shows in every layer of the organization. The front office makes smart, patient decisions. The coaching staff gets the absolute best out of their players, and the locker room is filled with guys who genuinely want to be in Detroit, who wear that one pride mantra like armor. It's not about individuals anymore, it's about the collective. And that's why this bye week feels different. Instead of asking, can the Lions hang with the top teams? The question now is, can anyone hang with the Lions? When you dominate the way they have, beating quality opponents, controlling games from start to finish, it's not luck, it's identity. Just look at how they've handled adversity, injuries, roster changes, tough road environments. It doesn't matter. Every time this team is tested, they respond. Every time the league starts to doubt, they remind everyone why they're here. It's a resilience that comes from experience, from the scars of seasons past, and from a leadership core that refuses to let this team go backward. And yet, even as everything seems to be clicking, the hunger hasn't gone away. You can see it in Amon Ray's eyes every time he talks about unfinished business. You can hear it in Goff's tone when he says the team still hasn't played its best football. You can feel it from Campbell, that relentless energy that doesn't let anyone get comfortable. That's what great teams do. They enjoy the wins, but they're never satisfied.